context with verified and well-argumented data. Link the need within its context to the solutions proposed by the project. For example, co-construction with the beneficiaries or alignment with national or international priorities. And also justify the relevance of the project to clear, precise activities that are aligned with the needs and with the organization's expertise and experience. So please don't hesitate to write your questions in the chat, and I will answer it later on. Now, the successful key number 2 about the logical framework and how to write it properly. So the logical framework, it is very used to explain what your project will be about. It provides, a structure for defining project objectives, to identify results, and also to plan the necessary activities to achieve those results, to establish monitoring and evaluation systems. So it is very important to focus on the logical framework, especially that it is a way of convincing your donor. So about the logical framework. So you need to find a general objective first. I guess you are all aware about this, like the general objective and then the specific objectives, the results, the activities, the indicators, and everything, okay? So it is important to not to aim too high, nor to rush the formulation of the overall objective. For the following reason, actually, because if it is too ambitious, then it will not be possible to achieve it. And then it will be a problem considering the fact that your donor is waiting for you to reach your objectives, and also to reach the results he's expecting. So if you are gonna tell him in the logical framework, okay, with this project, we're going to train 1,000 young women, and it is not in your capacity to do this for any reasons, it is problematic, because you may then, giving him back the money at the end if you didn't reach it. So it can lead to unrealistic expectations from stakeholders and donors. So it is very important to keep this in mind. Also, not rushing the overall objective. So it has to be very, clear, and you need to focus to define specific objectives and expected results, because it is essential also to dedicate sufficient time. So for example, if your project is like a one-year project, you need to be sure that you're going to be able to reach this objective in 1 year. What else can I tell you about it? It is also important to frame it as a desired change, to align it with strategic priorities, to place it at a macro level. So the overall, like the general objectives should be broader than the project-specific objectives, of course. As I said, it has to be realistic, it has to be clear. So I can give you an example. So for example, a general objective that says eradicate global poverty, it is far too ambitious. Maybe in a very ideal world that would work, but eradicate global poverty, it's too high and unachievable. On the other hand, if you're right, contribute to the sustainable improvement of living conditions for vulnerable populations in any region, like you choose the region. This is way more realistic, because it will focus on a specific region first, and then target a specific group in this region, and it aims for sustainable improvement rather than the complete eradication of poverty. Then you need also to think about your results and about the activities that you're going to implement in your project. It is essential to clearly distinguish between those two elements. So you have first the expected results, also known as outputs or outcomes. So the expected results are very specific. It is basically measurable changes, okay? That describe immediate and direct changes. We can say that the expected results should be SMART. You know, SMART, so S for specific, M for measurable, A for achievable, R for relevant, and T for time bound. So that is very important to keep this in mind. Eventually, we have the activities. Also, activities, it is the concrete actions that will be undertaken to produce the expected results. It has to be detailed, sequenced, and also accompanied by the necessary resources, by the responsibilities and the deadlines. So the distinction between results and activity is very important because it will clarify the project logic. The results explain why the activities matter and how they contribute to the overall objective. Also, in terms of monitoring and evaluation, the results provide clear indicators for tracking progress and assessing the project's effectiveness. And last but not least, it also improves project management. So, for example, planning activities helps organize work, allocate resources, and track implementation. If you write in your logical framework, okay, we're gonna implement those 5 activities in the next couple of months, and later on, we will implement others activities, etc., and so on and so forth, then it will improve your own management. So, for example, I can give you an example of a poor distinction between results and activities. So specific objective, improve education, which is a bit too wide, according to me. Activities, build schools, train teachers, provide textbooks. In this example, there is no clear expected results. It is too blurry. So it isn't clear what specific changes are expected as a result of building schools, training teachers, or supplying textbooks, okay? It is really important to write, for example, increase the enrollment rate of girls aged 12 to 18 by 15% over 3 years, which is a very specific result. Or 10% improvement in girls' performance in end-of-year exams over 3 years. Or again, 5% reduction in school dropout rates for girls over 3 years. And those results will be achieved through the following activities. We're going to build 10 new secondary schools in rural areas. We're going to train 100 teachers, including 80 women in participatory teaching methods, and so on and so forth. Also, another point that I would like to add is about the consideration of assumptions and risks. Because in every project, we may face risks, actually, that could influence the project's implementation and success. And it is therefore essential to identify and analyze those in order to prevent also the risks to happen, or at least to let the donor know about it. So those assumptions are basically external factors considered to be true or likely, and they're beyond the direct control of the project. Okay, so it can be linked, I don't know, to geopolitics or to environments, and you cannot control it. But it has to be identified at all levels of the logical framework. If it may impact activities, or if it may impact results, or if it may impact the objectives, the specific objectives, or the general one, it has to be clearly identified. The same for the risk, actually. if they occur, it could negatively impact the achievement of the project's objectives. So it is very important to identify them. To make the project also more realistic in a way, because as we say, the risk zero doesn't exist. So it is, I think, also a way of showing your donor, okay, so we want to implement this project with those activities, those results, but we are aware that there is this risk or this assumption that may happen. And it's also a proof that you are relevant and that you are trustful, because you know, okay, this could be happen, and we are going to do our best for the risk to not happen, but sometimes you cannot when it's beyond your control. So it will also, I mean, most of the time the donors, they're already aware of it, but at least they can also be more willing to, for example, to extend the project, or like no cost extension, for example. So it is very important. And also, another point that I would like to emphasize is the identification of sources and verification for effective monitoring and evaluation. So why is it important to identify sources of verification, to track progress, to access resource achievements, to enhance accountability, to improve decision-making and facilitate learning? How can you do that? So by collecting data collected by the project, for example, number of people trained, number of businesses created, etc. Performance indicators, also numerical values that measure progress towards expected results. But it's not only about quantitative data. It can also be qualitative data made by focus group with the beneficiaries, or interviews with the stakeholders or experts, either in group discussions or on one-to-one. Can also be observations through beneficiaries' behavior or environmental changes, through case studies. Different documents can also help you to do this, thanks to records of beneficiaries' activities or project, like training attendance sheets. That's very important. Or activity reports, financial documents, or any official documents. Last but not least, how to choose those appropriate sources of verification. So it will depend on several factors. It can depend on the nature of the indicators. So if it has to be quantitative data, or if it's more about qualitative insights. So it depends what you're looking for. Also available resources, like sometimes not all data are available, or it can be time consuming to collect them. So I would rather tell you not to do so. Donors' requirements. Some donors, they may require specific sources of verification or a particular data collection. Then you need to diversify the sources, of course, to consider the cost and the feasibility, and to involve stakeholders such as beneficiaries, partners, other stakeholders, to identify the most relevant and also the most accessible sources of verification. So that would be enough for this successful key. Let's keep going with the number 3, and the fact of that is very important to not overlook the need to build capital and capitalization and ensure sustainability. So it is very important to ensure capitalization and sustainability, to draw lessons, to make information more accessible, to share experiences more simply, and also to ensure that ensuring the project ownership by beneficiaries. So let's focus first on the capitalization. I believe you are all aware of what is capitalization, but in a nutshell, it's the process of collecting, analyzing, and sharing knowledge and lessons learned from a project's experience. So the idea of capitalization is really to help us as organizations, but not only actually, also the donors, also the civil society, also the beneficiaries. It helps us to identify best practices, to identify also challenges and the solutions that could be implemented in order to improve the design or the implementation for future projects, okay? On the other hand, sustainability aims to ensure the continuity of actions and benefits of the project. So they are both linked, actually. That's why it is very important to plan capitalization from the beginning of the project. Okay, it's not an activity or something that you will think at the end, because it is very important that it has to be integrated into the project design. Like from the very beginning, you need to think about the capitalization, even though it will be at the very end of the project, but it is very important in the way of thinking, because you will also have to identify the information to be capitalized. Like what types of information will be most useful to stakeholders and future projects? Is it the context? Is it the objectives? Is it the activities, the results? It can be many things, actually. But you need to identify what it is. Then also why you need to think about it from the very beginning, because like this, you will collect information systematically with the implementation of tools and procedures. It may include monitoring forms, activity reports, meeting minutes, interviews, all along the project, actually. And all of this has to be analyzed very rigorously, sorry, in order to identify trends and patterns and key success or failures factors. Then you also need to produce a document. It could be a paper, it could be even a video, or it could be a PowerPoint. It really depends, but the idea is really to make the information accessible. Yeah, you can share the capitalization documents with the relevant stakeholders, but also the beneficiaries, the partners, and make them available on appropriate platforms, such as your own website or an online library. It will really depends. But the idea is to share experiences and to integrate learnings into new projects. So for example, a good example, so through the project, the team collects data on factors influencing farmers' adoption of sustainable agricultural practices. So all those data, it is analyzed to identify barriers, and the insights are documented in a practical guide disseminated to farmers, extension workers, and partner organizations. And the team also organizes workshops to share the findings with other projects and gather feedback. So in this example, capitalization is a continuous process involving data collection, analysis, documentation of lessons learned. Now about sustainability, it is very important. It is a key factor, actually, that we need to take into consideration, because it refers to the process by which beneficiaries assume responsibility and take control of the project, beneficiary ownership, sorry. So a project is considered to be truly owned when beneficiaries understand it, when they participate in the design and the implementation, and then the evaluation, when they acquire the skills and knowledge needed to continue the project's activities after external funding ends. This is a very important part. Most of the donors, they will ask you in the proposal, how your project is going to be sustainable. So yeah, it is very important that the beneficiaries take the ownership to feel responsible for the project's success and its long-term continuity. And also, the project should include training and skills development activities to enable beneficiaries to manage and sustain the project, such as capacity building or promoting active participation, supporting the creation of a community-based organization, facilitate access to resources. All of these activities are made in order to really include the beneficiaries, in order to allow the project to be sustainable. So, for example, a project launches a training program for young entrepreneurs in a community. So the youth are involved in designing the program and actively participate in the training sessions. So they will create an association to collectively manage the income-generating activities developed through the project. And the project provides also technical and financial support to the association during a transitional phase, after which it becomes self-sustaining. So in this example, the project builds beneficiary capacity, it promotes active engagement, and it supports the creation of a local structure that will ensure long-term sustainability of the economic activities, even after the project ends. Now let's keep going with the successful key 4, which is the integration of cross-cutting issues, such as gender equality or environmental sustainability, human rights. Those issues, they are very important and they are considered cross-cutting because they influence all areas of development. And they must be addressed across sectors at every stage of the project. So we will see why cross-cutting issues matter, the strategies to integrate these issues, and also how to align them with donor priorities. So first, it is very important to promote equity and social justice. I'm not gonna focus on this too much. I think we all agree about the integration of the gender dimension to eliminate inequalities between women and men, or also the human rights-based approach that aims to ensure projects to respect and promote human rights of all individuals. Okay, the same with the environmental sustainability. So in order to minimize the negative impacts of the project, or to take into account different environmental aspects such as climate change, biodiversity, land degradation, water and air pollution. So all those cross-cutting issues are important to improve the effectiveness and also the impact of projects, as well as to meet donor requirements. Because now they want to, many donors want to fund cross-cutting projects that integrate cross-cutting issues. So if you don't use this, it may lead to the rejection of the project proposal. So in order to do so, to include this cross-cutting approach, you need to engage experts or to develop a strategy and to adapt, of course, your activities. So for example, if you identify relevant experts that are recognized in the fields of gender, environment, and human rights, they can also help you to build your proposals or to establish partnerships with those experts, to seek technical advice. All of this will help you in your proposal to be very strong and to have very positive impacts. Then you can also develop a strategy. So you can carry out a situational analysis to identify the specific issues. You can also define objectives and outcomes linked to the integration of cross-cutting issues, plan specific activities, allocate specific resources, establish specific indicators. I'm giving you lots of examples, of course. You don't have to include all of them, but some of them are very, very key to be sure that your project will be relevant. So, for example, if we focus on activities, for example, you can focus on the fact of you will integrate people with specific needs, or that you will prioritize minorities, for example, vulnerable groups, women, or people with disabilities, all of this. Then you can also adapt implementation methods to take into account cross-cutting issues. You can also adapt monitoring and evaluation tools. For example, if the project aims to improve food security for farming households, it integrates cross-cutting issues in the following way. So with gender. So the project conducted a gender analysis to understand the different roles and responsibilities of women and men in agricultural production. So it includes specific activities to strengthen the capacities of women farmers, give them access to resources. In terms of environment, the project promotes sustainable agricultural practices that improve soil fertility, reduce water consumption, and minimize pesticide use. And in terms of human rights, the project is designed to respect the human rights of beneficiaries, including the right to food, land, and participation. So you see in this example, the cross-cutting issues are directly integrated through all stages of the project. Why it is also important? Because it will allow you to align with project priorities. I mean, to align with the priorities of your donors. This demonstrates that the organization understands the donors' priorities and is able to contribute to their strategic objectives. Because then you will, for example, relate to the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals, and relevant targets. You can also adapt the project if necessary, like if needed, adapt the project to better reflect the donor's priorities. Use also the donor's language with the key terms to describe the priorities and the objectives. So all of these are advice that you can take into account for your proposal. And then the last successful key, so talking about the donors, it's about being close to the donor. It is very important to highlight the importance, of building a strong and trust-based relationship with donors. It is not limited only to the submission of project proposals, but it also extends to all stages of the project cycle, from the beginning, from the design to the implementation and evaluation. Because the thing is, a trust-based relationship can significantly increase the chances of securing funding to facilitate the project implementation and to ensure its long-term sustainability, and also to expect a renewal and new funds. So it is very important to keep this in mind. So let me tell you a bit more about the importance of co-constructing the project. So as I said, it has to take into account the alignment with donors' priorities. So if you involve the donor from the outset, the organization can ensure that the project is fully aligned with the donor's strategic priorities, because it will help you to significantly increases the chances of securing funding. Another tip is donors, they have valuable expertise and experience in the development sectors. So their involvement can help your organization to enhance the project design, to identify potential gaps. Like you can use them also. You can also ask for their experience to improve your own project. Then a project constructed with the donor is more likely to be approved, of course, because they would have followed you since the very beginning, since the design. It will also mean that there is a truth-based relationship. So co-construction encourages open communication, transparency, dialogue between the organization and the donor. So all of this will build mutual trust. And it is also a way to prepare the implementation. If you involve the donor from the beginning, your organization will anticipate potential implementation challenges, and it will be more ready to set up effective collaboration mechanism. What else? So identify donors whose strategic priorities align with the project objectives and who have experience funding similar projects are important. You need to contact them. You need to share, the project ID, to seek donor feedback, to integrate donor feedback, to maintain regular communication, and to organize co-design workshops. In some cases, you can even submit a concept note, a preliminary concept note to the donor. So all of this is a bit of it's a lot of work, I must say. That's also my work, so I understand it is a lot to do, but on the other hand, it is very efficient and it is really helpful, especially in case of a future collaboration and in case of, for example, especially with the big public donors such as the UN. They can also, think about you. Okay, we have this fund now. We want to implement this project, or we have this study to implement. Okay, we will need different partners, but there is this partner that we already know because we met them several times, or we have regular communications, we know how they work, how they implement projects. So they will think about you, basically. Then, I've already started to talk about this, but the idea is being reliable and demonstrate commitments. So it is essential qualities for building and maintaining a trust-based relationship with donors. They want organizations that are credible, accountable, and committed to achieving their objectives. Let's talk again about the UN, but for example, they have their own risk assessment. So if they consider you as a low-risk organization, they will be willing to work with you for long-term projects with a higher amount of money and with a light monitoring, because you have a low-risk assessment. But if you have a medium risk, or if they consider that you're like high-risk organization, they may not even work with you. So it is very important to maintain a good reputation, to demonstrate expertise, and to honor your commitments in terms of deadlines, in terms of meetings, in terms of just reporting on time, to communicate transparently, of course, by being accountable, showing professionalism. All of this, I think it's logical. Also, you can later on in the relationship, in the implementation of the project, you can also involve the donor in key events and project management. They really like, to see how the project is going on. They really like to participate to, I don't know, it could be training workshops, it could be conferences or closing ceremonies. It is important to ask for their feedback on the project implementation, also for the capitalization, to see what aspects could be improved or adapted. Also, don't hesitate to share progress reports with them, regular reports. It doesn't have to be only one report at the end of the year or twice a year. If you have regular reports, you can also share them with your donor to organize follow-up meetings, set up a steering committee. So all of this, in a nutshell, you need to ensure a regular communication. So for example, if you implement an agricultural development project, you can regularly invite donor representatives on field visits to observe farmers' progress, to see how they're working, how the project is being implemented. So if you really involve the donor in project implementation, it will strengthen the trust relationship. And the donor really, he's really gonna feel like he is a part of the project's success, and he will be willing to support you more in the future. Okay, so now we are done with the 5 successful keys. So I'm gonna ask you to participate a little bit. I think I've talked a lot. I hope everyone is still here and still listening. So now, please, I would like you to rephrase what I said. So I'm gonna ask 5 volunteers to reformulate the 5 keys, the 5 recommendations that I gave you, but with your own words. So, yeah, who wants to start? You can just hand your hand. And okay, so Bakong, would you like to start?
Yes, please. Good afternoon to everybody. Thank you very much for that insightful presentation. Mine is just to maybe chip in on the last point that you made of engaging and having your donors involved in your project implementation. I just want to maybe bear testimony to how my organization has in the past utilized the presence of our partners in a project that we did. My company organization is called Combo Lounge. So the organization deals with empowerment of secondary school students, and secondary school students in Botswana context would be from the ages of about 12 to 19. And what we do is we link them with different professionals in different industries just for a transfer of information and experiences so that they could learn and engage more to help them in shaping their careers and going forward. So we've previously been partnering with Anglo American Foundation for a program called Ambassadors for Good. So with Ambassadors for Good, what they do is Anglo American employees, and this in our instance, it was Depswana, which is a sub company of Anglo American. So the company, what they did is we partnered with the employees to transfer those skills and knowledge to the students that we had within our cohorts. And that way, we used the employees to be the ones to facilitate the activities that we had, the workshops that we had. We got accountants, we got mining engineers to come through and be the ones to present and offer part of the program that we did with them. And this helped us because the donor not only provided funding, but the employees provided skills that they brought to the project. They interacted with the students. They transferred the knowledge that they have to the students. And this
Okay.
sort of like helped the students imagine their future and shape their careers. So in that way, we did season 1 of it, and then the company came back to us and they did a second school with us So now we have, created a partnership with them, a long-term partnership with them to implement the project at other schools and look at the different employees that come from different parts of the country in Botswana to be able to help, transfer information, transfer knowledge and skills from what they have experienced to the students to help shape their careers. So this is where I just wanted to chip in to say that when you have a relationship with your donor and you ensure that you make them parcel of the implementation of the project that you have going on, this would open, doors for you and actually get to create some relationship for the betterment of the program implementation that you have going on.
Thank you so
Thank
much for sharing with us this experience, and you're totally right. That's why it is very important to have this relationship with the donor and to include them in the project, because as you said, then it will open for a second school and so on and so forth. So yeah, thank you very much for this illustration. So yeah, who wants to volunteer about the small exercise that I gave you about the rephrasing the 5 recommendations? I've seen someone else. Promise, if you wanna start.
Thank you. So my name is Promise, and I work with Omoto Plus organization. We're based in Malawi. So for today's workshop, we have seen how we need to have a clear a program, understand the root cause of the problem, and also see possible ways on how we could identify or solve the problem. So you have also talked on relying on secondary data, but I think sometimes when you rely on secondary data, you also miss other component. So maybe I would also emphasize on relying primary data, maybe working with the communities themselves to clearly identify their problem and possible some strategies on how we could address the challenges that they are facing in the community. I also want to stress on the integration. It's very important because most of the project you would see that the root causes are coming from different aspects, whether it's culture, whether it's social, it's environment. So when you just focus a project on one, you miss out other important factors. So integration is very important so that everyone is part and parcel of the project. Whether you're focusing on maybe education, you also look at you have to look at an aspect maybe of inclusion, you look at an aspect of economic empowerment, agenda, and what have you. So I just wanted to share to shed more light on those particular programs.
Thank you very much, Promise, for sharing your experience. Yeah, that's really important, as you said. Let's keep going. You also raise your hand.
Yes, madam. Good afternoon to everybody. I'm called Fogwe Wango, and I am the Partnership Director of Youth Education and Development in Cameroon. We are into the production of bags from plantain fiber. So what I learned from this workshop today is the fact that, first of all, while writing or while working on a project, we should be specific. We should focus on a particular group of people, and we should make sure our project is measurable. Let's not aim too high because, the donors might not give because it's too ambitious and it's not measurable. Also, we should make sure we build a relationship with the donors. That's when we have received the funds. We should make sure we include them and include the society as well into whatever we are doing. Like, for example, what we do, we work with internally displaced people in our region, because Cameroon has 3 regions which are touched by violent conflicts. So those people who are displaced and they are based in Yaoundé, where we are. We work with them and we train them how to produce the bags, and we also give opportunity for them to learn more skills. So these are the type of things we should encourage, and we should also make sure our project as well solves problems like maybe uh, pro- problems linked to climate change, because that's also those are also um, aspects which donors nowadays look up to. Like, for example, the bags we make from plantain fiber are used as alternative for plastic bags as well. And these plastics cause plastic pollution and also contribute to uh, soil degradation. So let us learn to use projects which involves community, climate, and so on, and is going to attract many donors. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your inputs and for a very good summary. And yeah, exactly. You need to add those cross-cutting issues. It is very important for the donors. Who else is Harriet? You want to go first?
Hello and thank you. My name is Harriet Waithera. I am from SWETEC, that is Center for Women Empowerment here in Kenya. And thank you, by the way, for the amazing presentations. I've really learned a lot, and I'm not going to repeat what other people have said, but I would just like to emphasize on reporting. And we've really found reporting accurately to be very effective in partnerships, especially. We have been doing a partnership with Daring Girls to deliver a program called Binti Shupavu, which is for mentorship in high schools for just girls. And so I think it just goes back to having a nice relationships with the donors or the partners. And so beyond the reporting, we have even invited some teams to come over and see the work that we are doing, so that it's not just paper work that they are seeing, because sometimes people can cook numbers. But now when they come and they see hands-on the work that we are doing, they can attest to the reports that we have been giving. And so about reporting, it's an amazing point, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Harriet. Richard, go on.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Richard from Kenya, working with an organization that actually deals with artisanal miners. And I want to stress on the importance of co-constructing a project. And this is actually very relevant. I'll shed light on a project that we are currently working on. We identified that most artisanal mine workers come to the hospital with chronic lung issues as a result of chronic long-term exposure to silica dust. So we wanted to actually help, and one of the ways that we decided to help is to create a robust primary care network. So we decided to first begin by going to a site visit to gather insights which can be used to develop our data collection tools and even objectives for the project. After we did this, since the county government is one of the main stakeholders that actually deals with regional healthcare, we decided to onboard them for the co-constructing the project and project design. So we shared with them, and it was actually very insightful because they even had some of the primary data that we could not have. And it's actually what, in a nutshell, co-constructing a project is really important for the sake of the stakeholders and even for funding and for long-term sustainability. That's all.
Okay. Thank you very much. Buka, you want to continue?
Thank you so much, Ines, for the presentation. I honestly must confess that I've learned a lot today, and hopefully it's going to shape my proposal draft going forward. I particularly want to emphasize on experience and knowledge sharing in this context, because in all honesty, you might find out that a lot of us need to know how others have done just to get it right. I mean, a lot of times we might have the resources, but then to put it at the right place, using other people's experience, how it worked with them, that becomes quite challenging. So with this, I think when you mentioned capitalization, it really resonates with me because I have experienced that practically. And when I got to sit down with an organization that have had better experience in that regard, we shared knowledge, we shared experience, and the next thing I did was to come back and implement a very impactful project that up till today I'm quite proud of. So once again, thank you for the wonderful presentation and over.
You're very welcome. Will to impact. Yes.
Hello everyone. I'm Christian Di Curio, founder and president of Will to Impact from Burundi. So I'm beginning by to say thank you to the amazing presentation you've done today. But for me, I can't really repeat for the other guys said about this presentation, but I would like to, the reason for me is about sustainability. We experience with this stop of fund from USAID, we didn't for the organization to take ownership of even the outcome at the end of the project. So I've heard that even we the coming Corvo up project, we focus more on the taking on ownership, in order even after the end of the project to get the outcome, the real and the ownership of the beneficiaries of our coming project. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing your testimonies and experiences. I will just continue now with the last part of the presentation about the donor's advice. So it's a small list of 8 advice, if I may say, that we ask to a donor. So let's start with the number 1. So always start from a need. So that's what I said earlier in the presentation, and not from a financing opportunity, because then they will see it anyway. So you should, I mean, of course, you will have to how can I say that, to reach what they want you to do. But it is first very important to start from a need, to rely on studies or carry out your own diagnostics. Then about accountability, the project is a better project if it is co-constructed with the beneficiaries, because first it will also help you to start from the need, because you're directly with the beneficiaries, and the project will have a better and a greater impact. Then in terms of efficiency, you need to think about the budget. We talked a lot about the proposal, the narrative way, but there is also the budget part, which is very important, and about the cost per beneficiary. So once again, it will really depend to the donor. For example, some public donors, they want quantitative impact. So they want you to reach a lot of beneficiaries. So it has to be less budget per beneficiary. So you need to think about activities that are not too expensive, if I may say. On the other hand, some donors, they may want to focus on the qualitative impact. And then it's okay if you reach less beneficiaries, but it is because the activities, all the program that you want to implement has a cost. Number 4, consistency. So be careful to avoid confusion with titles, figures, percentages, concepts, okay? Number 5, innovation. So I think it is more and more asked by the donors, the current donors, about innovation, like what is the added value of the project. By innovation, it doesn't necessarily mean something completely new or out of the blue, but it has to add this new value, this new impact, why this project is different from the others, or from what has been done in the past. So this is very important to highlight. Number 6, transparency, of course. As I said already, that your project has to be realistic. You may want to tell that your project is amazing, and of course it is, but you also have to show the difficulties, or as I told you already, the risk and the assumptions, for example. Then the relevance. So why your organization is relevant to do this project? Do you have the capacity to carry out this action? As I said, it's like don't put a too high general objective or too high results that you couldn't reach. But if your organization has the expertise, if your organization has the experience, of course, you may want to highlight this. And last but not least, the location. Location is also very important for donors because it will show that your project fits into the ecosystem, especially if you can create synergies with other initiatives, other structures, either public structures, as I said a bit earlier, if your project is about education, maybe there is the Ministry of Education that is already implementing a policy and that you could work with, or maybe not necessarily public. It could be also private initiatives, like you could work with companies, or you could work with other organizations similar to your organization. And I think that's very important for the donors to show that you have the capacity to work in synergies, if I may say. Okay, so thank you for your attention. Don't hesitate to ask questions in the chat or to raise your hand and to ask your question directly. I'm here to answer. So Will to Impact, Christian, you go first.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to ask you from the beginning of this workshop, even for the beginner, the webinar, sorry, we asked to get the support document or the presentation used in this workshop that will helpful. And the other things I don't know, we send we ask things on the official email, but you didn't get responding. For example, when we complete the form for the people attending the webinar or access to the platform, we ask for 3 people, but they get only credentials for 1 people. I don't know how it works behind, but we'd like to get this kind of, even the support or the document used in the workshop to get at least on the platform. That will be helpful. Thank you so much.
Okay. I think you already asked this question last week to the other module, right? Oh, actually, it reminds me something. But yeah, sure. I will tell.
Sorry. The last thing, we should have the calendar of the upcoming workshop. That will be helpful to schedule it on on how to end it attending on time. Thank you so much.
Okay. Okay, no worries. I will tell my colleagues about this. Next, we have for Joey.
Yes, madam, I have the same problem like my brother there. I have not received mail or access to the platform. Meanwhile, my other colleague has access to the platform already, and she's the one who keeps on sending me the link. So I don't know. And last time I sent my email and my number, but I don't get any return. So I mean, I'm a bit worried.
Okay. Okay. I will tell my colleagues, no worry. Joseph? Joseph Assari, you can ask your question.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Joseph Asare, representing Association Vision International in Ghana. My question is one, I have completed 2 modules on the platform where I have taken the quizzes, but when I check, and I have also achieved my rewards, but when I check, I still see that it's 80% complete. I don't know.
Okay, only 30%, even though you reach all the, okay.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Sorry, I cannot answer to those questions because I'm not in charge at all of the monitoring of the platform, but I will tell my colleagues. So, Kumbe, yeah, facing the same problem. Okay. Bahit Adam.
Thank you for the opportunity. This is Basit Adam, and I'm representing the 4U Center for Peace and Development in Sudan. So I have 2 questions. The first question I'd like to inquire about if the WhatsApp group has been created or not, because I didn't, be in any group. The second question is regarding with the donors compliance and the requirements. In some, context where the violence and the conflict, it may be very difficult for some organization fulfill the requirements of the donors. So maybe they will not be able, to provide some improvement. They will not be able to, for example, gratia to report on time and so on. So do all the donors they have, like they are flexible in terms of operating in any context, or they are very restricted with the requirements and the compliance of the donor. Thank you.
So to answer to your second question first,
Yeah.
that would be it could be actually a whole workshop about it, about the differences between the donors. But to answer you quickly, no, of course, according to the donor, you will have different requirements. First, if we separate into 2 groups, like the public donors and the private donors, the requirements are different. And even among the public donors and among the private donors. But
big bottle, hot one. I don't want cold one. Then go to this restaurant here. Tell her you are buying.
Joseph, can you please turn on your mic? Turn off. Sorry. But so yeah, Adam, what I wanted just to tell you is that most of the time, public donors require a lot of criteria because it's public money. So they want you to be very specific on the criteria. They want you to reach specific results. They want you to consider many things because it's public money, basically, in a nutshell. For private donors, I'm not saying that they don't care or they will not check, but usually it is more flexible to work with them in terms of impact, in terms of results, because private donors, most of the time, it could be companies or foundations or private foundations from companies. So you don't need to, of course, they're giving you their money, so they want results, of course, but they are more flexible, generally speaking. Yeah. And about your first question, please, can you repeat it because I couldn't hear you properly?
Thank you. My first question, it was about the creating of the WhatsApp group, because we have been promised it.
The
There will
WhatsApp
be a
group.
WhatsApp group where, yeah, we can.
Okay,
Yes,
so
where they can facilitate the communication between the participants. I don't know.
okay, I honestly I have no idea, but I will ask. Maybe there will be a WhatsApp group. I'm not sure at all. But in case a WhatsApp group is created, of course you will be aware of it. Okay, so I've seen some questions in the chat. Do we mark attendance somewhere in the platform? That's a good question. I don't know. Okay, I will let you know about it. Let me just write the question down somewhere here. Not forget it. And Lissala, is there any scheduled onboarding call for the concern that we have with regard to the question that you say? Oui, so it is a very good question too. Because the thing is, to be honest, I don't work with the Youth Empowerment Summit, but I participate as a trainer, let's say, about those topics because I'm an expert on it as a partnerships officer. But all the questions related to the platform and everything, I don't really know. That's why I cannot answer. I apologize for this. So I don't know if, did you share your email addresses somehow, somewhere, or maybe I can just write down your name and maybe my colleagues will be able to find you or to have access to all the people who registered to this module and then to send a collective answer to all of you, or hopefully. Or maybe, Lesala, you can also, how can I maybe send that, I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. But I will try to do my best to make it possible for you to have the answer. Yeah, exactly. I'm not. Thank you, Katso, Lizaren, Ramodia. But if you have any more questions about the module or even about the organization, feel free to ask. Okay, so Anthony, okay. And today's recording ask in terms of how much to propose mega project focusing on at least 8 SDG. Okay, so I think once again, it depends on the capacity of your organization. According to the project that you want to implement, it is kind of easy to focus on several SDGs. On 8, I think it's a lot, but if you manage to justify yourself, as I said, justification is very important. Yeah, maybe you were not in the meeting, but okay, you will get the presentation anyway. But the thing is, once you can justify yourself, you can justify the needs with the specific data, with a specific like, okay, we are able to answer to these questions, to these issues. I think it should be okay, but be careful to not, how can I say that in English, but you need also to focus, like it has to make sense. Don't just cross, okay, SDG 1, SDG 2, SDG 4, okay. If it makes sense, okay, of course, but be careful to not just, cross all the 17 SDG and then it will be too blurry for the donors. And they may, consider that maybe you don't really know what you want to achieve, or maybe you will not be able to achieve those results because it's too big somehow. So be careful to that. I'm not saying that it's impossible, but be careful. Bakong?
Yes, I have a question. Would you say there are stages to, fundraising or targeting donors that you need to, approach for funding? I'm asking this because some organizations such as ours, they are, startup organizations that have under 5 years of operation. But sometimes you find the donor, their requirements is that you have audited financial results or financial reports of 3+ years, or 5 years of audited financials, which you do not have as a startup organization. So would you say, as we are mapping out, different places to get funding from, we should maybe look into how old our organizations would be, and if at all they do qualify for such funding, or there could be a way to go about it. Maybe if a donor says that they they require those financials, audited financials for like 5 years or so, but you have a project that is very impactful and could, be a mover in the society. Could it maybe we have a way to go about it and to get that funding without having those, audited financials?
Thanks for your question. I totally what you mean, because I used to work with a quite recent organization, and we couldn't apply to some of the fundings because we were too new, basically. So yeah, I totally get your points. So my advice would be, I think that if a donor says in the criteria you need to be like 3 years old minimum or like 5 years old, I don't think it will work if you apply anyway, even if your project is great. Because most of the time it's public donors that has this kind of criteria, not the private one. And as I said, the public ones, they are not that flexible. Yet, if you know someone inside the organization, or you can also contact them, because communication is very important to create the relation. And maybe with different meetings, if you invite them to see what you're doing and everything, maybe they may change this. Another advice that I could give you is that you can, if you know your ecosystem, if you know the other organizations working next to yours, you can also try to apply with another organization to do a consortium. That's also what we can do sometimes. Like, okay, we cannot apply directly because we're too young, or because we don't have, I don't know, enough budget, or we don't have this or that. But we can make a consortium with another one, and that would be this organization that will lead the application, but it will allow us also to have a part of the funding and to implement also some activities. So it's another way of working. I know that then you have to split the activities and the funds and everything, and you also need to find a trustful partner, but it is also a possibility to get those funds. I also wanted to ask you, I saw that some people are leaving and I totally understand. It's been 1.5 hours, but I've been asked to ask you if you can turn on your camera and then I will take a screen, if you agree, of course, if you don't, no worries. But if you agree and like this, I can see everyone connected and I will just have a short screenshot, if that's possible for some of you. Okay. Thank you. Is there other people that wish to? Okay, not possible. It's okay, no worries. Just if I have some of you. Okay, I have Bacon, Joseph, Christian, Shui, Boucard. Richard. Okay. Okay, so let's take one like this.
Let us know to smile before you take.
Okay, so you ready, guys? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Perfect. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so is there any more questions? Okay, so I don't think so. Okay, so if there is no more questions, we can say that the workshop is over. Thank you very much again for participating from everywhere in the world. And I wish I could see some of you next June. And yeah, thanks for following the workshop. I will try to go back to you with the answers that you asked me about the organization and the platform and the access to the platform. And also I saw a question in the chat with the budget template in English and not only in French. We'll try to check it out. And in the meantime, I wish you a very nice day or end of the day, according to where you are. And bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
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 Bye, Harry. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.